Welcome. Dom Mather? How do you say your last name?
Mather, but I've answered it far worse.
Sure you have. Yeah, we know. We have friends in common. No, actually, I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this cast. You actually are often featured in here when I do the mixes. You're one of the players.
Disturbingly a lot the last time I was here.
That's right. I remember I actually said I have the AI cam, and so you were here early today. You beat me, and so you must have in your training to be 10 minutes early to anything.
If you're not 15 minutes early, you're already late.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds military. Was that military?
It was, yeah. My very first meeting with the Royal Navy. I waited till the exact minute, knocked on the door, and got yelled at.
Nice. That's a pleasure. That's great. So actually, I want to talk about a bunch of things, but let's start with who you are, where you came from, early youth. Where were you born?
I was born in a little place called Cookfield, which is in Sussex, England. It's named after the cuckoo.
Yeah, explains the skirt at the wedding that I went to that you had 4 years back.
You and Maya calling that a skirt.
It's a skirt. It's a skirt. It's just an itchy skirt.
My dad's mom was born in Edinburgh, and so our whole lives we were trained on our Scottish ancestry. So I figured if I got married and I wasn't in a kilt, there'd be a serious butt whooping from my grandmother's ghost.
No, that's good. One of the issues I think we face today is there's not enough like family unit and
100%.
Like just the culture that you bring from your heritage. That's just missing with so many people nowadays.
Love the place you are, but never forget where you came from.
Yeah, exactly. So you were there for most all your junior life?
No. So my dad graduated Sussex Institute of Technology in the very late, maybe early 1970s. So I believe the late 60s, early 70s. And back then that was MIT for computers. And part of his dissertation at college was he actually wrote the software for the CAT scan. So every time you get a CAT scan, you can realize my dad earned nothing from that.
That's right. This would be your studio right now.
Yeah.
That's halt and catch fire years, like the early days where software literally, when it broke, the hardware would catch in flames.
Yeah, it's switching from punch cards to like reel to reel. And so when he graduated, he got two offers. One was from the American military and one was from the Russian military.
He chose.
Didn't take him very long to make that decision.
Yeah, I'm assuming he chose well.
Yeah.
Right? Assuming he went.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
you're a Russian spy. Tom, I've known all these years.
Duh. So in 77, so he came out here and did like several business trips. And then in 77, we all moved over here and we moved to Bountiful, Utah, which is just outside Salt Lake City. And back in 77, my dad bought his first house with a handshake. He said, I absolutely have no money, but I have a good job and I promise I'll pay you.
I love it.
And he bought our first house from the Petersons and he lived up to his name.
I love it.
And then I guess when I was about 9, we moved to California and we were in Orange County.
I'm sorry, in Utah, where were you located?
Bountiful.
I don't know where that is, so that's
it's up in the mountains. So we're about 6,000 feet up in the Rockies, but looking down onto Salt Lake. And funnily enough, my parents were English, so they liked a good drink.
You're not there.
They had no idea what Mormonism was.
Yeah.
So when they moved there, they went out to try and get a drink and realized that the entire city was dry.
That's hilarious. Wow. So that's where they clearly moved to California. We need to drink.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yeah. So then they moved to California, and that was SoCal, right?
Yeah, and we stayed here. I did all of my schooling. I went to a small private school in San Juan Capistrano called St. Margaret's. I was there 4th grade through 12th grade. Went off to USC, fight on. And I already know your opinion of USC.
So I know what other people know this. I know a slew of USC people, and you're the only USC guy. Everyone else is just fraternally, and they're alcoholics, and I'm glad. I hope they're listening to this because they just drive me nuts. But you're about the only, and I think it's because you're not from here. I know you came from the UK, and then you have the foundational family and all, and the other folks that go to USC are just like these spoiled rich people.
My dad made us earn everything we got. And it was all academic based for him. Dad was very cerebral, and if you wanted a car, you had to get straight A's. So I have one older and 2 younger brothers. I got the car. And that's what it was. Everything it had a milestone and usually was related to school or chores or whatever. We grew up with an appreciation of hard work.
Yeah.
He came from nothing. His dad was a colonel in the Royal Army, and his mom was a sergeant major in the Royal Army. So they didn't come from wealth. My dad earned everything himself.
Okay, you moved to Southern California, but so you mentioned that you're Royal Navy, right? So did you go back to the UK? At
I
one
did.
point?
I
Okay.
did. So my dad actually passed away from cancer in 97, and I was left with, what do I do? And my dad told me I couldn't join the military because he didn't want me to get shot at. Apparently, he was trying to groom me for taking over his companies, which I thought working for a computer company was death.
We have to come back to that.
Yeah. And so I thought the loophole was I'm English and I can join the Royal Navy and go fly Harriers. And that got me around that. And so I moved to the UK in 1997. And I was there until 2009. Didn't wind up flying Harriers. Actually wound up in the computer industry.
Yeah, that's cute. So that was post USC or?
Yeah, post USC.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was in the UK. I stayed there till 2009, and I had 3 kids, all born in the UK, back when the NHS
So
actually
if you're
worked.
Scottish, they're probably a year apart or something like that. How does that work?
Oh, that's Irish. Sorry. Those jokes, but still.
Yeah. I've only got 3, not 16.
Yeah, that tells it right.
Yeah.
That could be a fun hook. You only had 3, not 16. Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so go ahead. So you're in the Navy, but not flying.
Well, so I went through the beginning stages of that, and right when I was really pretty much just into the program, Parliament passed a law basically moving the Fleet Air Arm to the Royal Air Force, and I was 2 days too old to actually transfer with it. So I just didn't continue with that, which actually is a little funny lead on to the first time I ever got recorded because it was on a podcast.
Yeah.
Back when I was going through training with the Navy, obviously I had to work. And I was working for this performance shock absorber company. Yes, it's as exciting as it sounds. They built shock absorbers for race cars and for like kids who want to modify their cars. And there was this company in Essex, which is northeast London, who would call up. And every time they call up, they asked for me. Finally, the CEO called me up directly and said, "Hey, could you be the guy in our commercial?"
Nice.
That was Extreme Motorsports in Essex. And I had to say stuff like Extreme Motorsports, be overly like American with it all. But yeah, that was my first time ever being recorded.
I definitely want to talk about some of that stuff because you have a storied career life. But with respect to the Navy versus flying, you're too tall. You wouldn't fit in the suit. They'd have a limited height.
I actually just made it. So I'm just at 6'1", which was the cutoff. And then the other issue I had is obviously I played football. And
you're too heavy too.
yeah. So when I graduated high school, I was like 225.
Yeah.
The Navy's requirement was 199. So in order to pass my first medical, basically I would live on a slice of bread a day.
Oh, that's crazy.
And run like 9 miles.
Yeah.
And I got down to 198.
Oh, but even then, that's way too light for your height. It's those fighter guys, and they're like midgets, right? Movie stars like Tom Cruise, they have to shoot cameras from below because they're really short and they're like petite. Because they have to be, and weight, I don't mean to say anything about your weight, but just in general, it's expensive because it's fuel, right? You want to have limited weight and smashed into this tiny little cockpit.
Well, also the physics. So smaller people, the blood doesn't get pulled out of their,
Right.
so under high G. So actually women make better fighter pilots than men because they're smaller. The blood doesn't get pulled to their extremities as easily.
Interesting. I didn't.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I would definitely not fit in a cockpit now. You'd be crowbar.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely want to talk about your storied life because you actually played football at USC, right?
I tried to play football at USC. I played high level in high school and we won the state championship and all that. And I walked into USC thinking that I was tough and fast. And then I realized what tough and fast was.
Well, even if you didn't play the field, you were down on the field though, at least, right?
No,
Or
I walked on to the travel squad and then realized the level of how good those guys are.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like I said, we won our championship and we thought we were awesome. And then you see what these guys are.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I was big. I was 225. I wasn't fast, but I was quick. And then you see that you're actually small and really slow.
Yeah. But you've been at least down at the field.
I've seen that.
With
Yeah.
and these big machine of people just zip through the air and crush into each other. It's crazy. But you obviously went to games, right? So the stadium, I figured you were down there, but the stadium of people, right?
Oh, I went to every game I could.
Yeah.
And in fact, I still go when I can. Mine, I went last year. And obviously, if we can see UCLA or Notre Dame or something, or Stanford, one of the big rivalries, that's always worth it.
Yeah. I was a fan of hanging around a big forum like that, but the reason I thought you were down there because it was going to lead to my next question, because you also were touring music group, right?
Yeah.
At one point. And so tell me a bit about that, but what was the biggest number of people you actually performed before?
Oh, in the several thousands. We played some festivals. We were pretty low on the totem pole of them, but there were huge crowds. You could stand on stage and look out and all you saw was people.
Yeah.
It was pretty awe-inspiring. But in the first days, I remember playing a gig in Coventry to one person. Yeah, no joke. Literally, like one person showed up. We were playing this legendary rock and roll club called the Brick House in Coventry, England. And we're thinking, oh, this is awesome. We made it. There was one guy there.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done gigs lately where in a bar where there's just like one or two people. Initially,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
you play start early and then they start pouring in.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
You know, you play every gig. Doesn't matter if there's one person or 20,000 people there. You play every gig with everything you got.
So I didn't know you did voiceovers, and you're a guitar player, and I rarely, if ever, hear you sing. Why don't you go that route?
Because I don't have a great voice for singing.
With shock absorbers, you do.
You can do that really fake over the top.
Yeah.
I can imitate people. I've always been able to do that. So that's come naturally for me. I actually struggled to sing and play guitar. I could play guitar, and it wasn't until actually I joined the Mayan Effect where someone has to sing backup, and the other two guys just kind of looked away.
Yeah, exactly. You got a bass player and a drummer.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So I started learning how to sing, and it was basically as I practice, I would sing the backup part.
Yeah.
And then that kind of progressed to like when we did Devil Went Down to Georgia, I actually took the lead.
Ooh, look at you. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Recording?
I do. Yeah. That's actually my favorite 3 weeks in that entire band. They translated the fiddle by ear to lead guitar and then
Nice.
build it up to full speed. And that was my favorite 3 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, that's a tough song. Wow. But so you must be technical. So what at USC, what'd you study?
I started biology. I wanted to be a doctor until I realized I didn't want to be a doctor.
And you just played it, right? Yeah. Played one on TV.
Then I switched to business. I loved the science behind it. I just didn't like everything outside of the science.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to deal with people, which is funny because I'm in sales.
Yeah. Well, a lot of sales folks are like deeply introverted, but then on their job, they're extroverted as hell. They have to be.
I was shy as a kid and didn't realize, and like people, when I tell them that, they're all like, no, there's no way you were shy.
Yeah.
Like, no, I was like the shyest kid you would ever meet until my sophomore year in college. And then all of a sudden I just like that realization of why are you shy? And now people go, I really wish you were shy again.
Yeah. No. Right. Well, but then again, I don't interact with a lot of people.
You're the only side about.
Go.
No, it's always behind my back.
Yeah, sit down. I've never ever heard.
No,
that.
it's a great group. I know I talk a lot, and it's not like I never seek the spotlight. It's not that. It's just I like to make people laugh, and there's a funny side to almost everything.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. So, I guess a bit of the technical gene from the old man. Did your mom do anything in that field as well?
Mom was a physician's assistant, which is where the whole doctor thing came from.
Technical, yeah.
Yeah.
So you had it in your genes.
Yep.
And genes are, it's not destiny. It's just, well, it's a gun. You pull the trigger and you just, that word. But it's better. I mean, but at the end of the day, you've been working for several years in a technical software.
Yep. So even though working in the computer industry was death to me, I work in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And I've been in cybersecurity since 1999. And
Wow.
I can actually owe that same stupid job at the shock absorber company for getting me into the tech world.
Huh.
Every time the systems used to go down there, because it took so long for the IT people to show up, I would just go and fix it.
Yeah.
And when the secretary to the CEO went and joined an IT reseller, they said, hey, do you know anybody who can sell and understands computers? And she said, there's this guy who's really good at selling, but he fixes our systems every time they go down. And so they called me up and worked for this tiny little reseller in Oxford, England. And I was there for about 2 years, and I became their sales manager. And then I got recruited by a big company in London, and from there to manufacturers. And I've been in the manufacturer space ever since.
Cyber, but boy, you were in cyber before it was really called cyber.
Yeah, back then it was just InfoSec.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
That goes way back. Yeah, I remember those days of just like big iron machines.
Oh yeah, stateful firewalls, proxies.
Yeah. Now they're like all software. It's like brutal, but that they can update them from afar, which means you can hack into them from afar.
I sell a lot of next generation firewalls now. So now we know who you are. We know what you're allowed to access. We know what you are accessing. We can scan packets in real time. We could detonate them and sandbox them and work out if it's malicious or not malicious. We can do things like data loss prevention as the data tries to exfiltrate your organization. And we use a lot of AI.
Yeah, that's critical today, right?
Yeah.
When you say detonate, does that mean you literally can halt and catch fire these boxes from afar?
What it means is,
just crash.
Let's say an email comes in with an attachment.
Yeah.
We can then take that attachment, put it in a private area within that, and open it and see what it's going to do. And that's called detonating the packet.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ah, it's like a little sandbox area.
It's exactly what it is. It's a sandbox.
Pretty cool.
And we use every single one of our firewalls around the world. So 52% of every single firewall on this planet is actually from the company I work for. So there's 830,000 customers out there with these firewalls. Every one of these packets that comes in there will then update our security cloud.
Yeah.
And we will have a patch for that, whatever that vulnerability is. So basically, within seconds from a vulnerability being spotted for the very first time within the firewall, it's already up in the cloud, registered, figured out, and a patch is down on it.
Yeah, since it's a big company dominating, I'm not going to call you out too hard on it, but I remember years ago, I was in this gentleman's not so small home, and he had written a virus protection software suite that I, of course, won't name, but very popular one. And so when he got trashed, he started to say some things that scared the crap out of me. And like that part of his organization was literally releasing viruses so that his other part of his organization could protect against those.
Yeah.
And it wasn't science fiction. It was literally, no, it's part of our business model. And I'm just like, so with cyber stuff, there's got to be some bad actors out there. Like they say they're shielding, but then at the end of the day, they're just learning about everyone and then just selectively like selling to the highest bidder access.
Oh, yeah. And you got nation states. That's the big one right now. You've also got script kiddies, just kids up there who can download script for free, put it together to make a new attack and send it out. And you don't even have to have any knowledge on cybersecurity or attack vectors or anything in order to do this.
Wow.
A statistic for you, just to show you how scary it is. Every 2 seconds, a company in the United States alone gets hit.
Yeah. And I'm sure because it's your business, it was a few years ago, there was actually a story about some infiltration of key top company networks. And then the story died down. But then years later, then you start seeing vulnerabilities were further exploited. And so they're extremely patient. It's not like they get in, let's do something today. It could be 10, 15 years from now, right?
Yeah. The dwell time, which is when they get in, it used to be months. And because their tools are getting more and more powerful, they're moving faster and faster. So average dwell time now is 9 to 4 days.
Oh, wow. So they're taking advantage faster is what you're saying.
They're using really advanced tech, a lot of AI. So you've got AI being used by the bad guys and AI being used by the good guys.
Yeah.
And now they can move around really quickly.
There's actually a good space for especially the youngsters out there looking to go into because it seems like it's just required.
100%.
It's like insurance policies. You just need it.
If I were to give advice to kids looking like I want to get into IT right now, there's 4.8 million jobs open for security architects right now. They cannot fill them. Budget will always be given to cybersecurity because it is the only defense you really have within an organization. And fines and penalties now are so huge, up to jail time. It's like $175 a record. And in a big company, in an exfiltration attack, they can pull out millions of records.
I want to. I want to tell you a story, actually, how I got in IT. I've always been a programmer type, and I got my first radio shack TRS-80 when they were first coming out and stuff. I was just that
God, I remember the TRS-80.
geeky guy.
Yeah.
And I've told the story before. I used to have to write the programs so many times over and over again because 90%, actually 70% of the time, I think it would fail to retrieve back from safe to a cassette recorder. So I had to keep rewriting code. And that was like the 10,000 hours of proficiency where I literally kept having to rewrite the stuff over and over again that I got really good at it. And so, you remember the movie War Games?
Oh, do you want to play a game?
So it's amazing when you see media like that. As a kid, I saw Matthew Broderick doing these hacking things, and he had this dialer, this phone dialer thing, and would just go through hunting for other computers. And that was sweet. Yeah, if it connects, then you had a computer. So I saw that in the movie, and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I literally wrote that evening, and I had a phone dialer going out to just get a ton of numbers. And so that was my first sort of entry into hacking. And I didn't really do too much damage. There was a dopamine rush, analogous to what kids feel today with their like my picture shit.
Yeah.
That's the way I was feeling, and hackers feel this. So in college, I actually found a way to actually open up someone's account it was on a VEX VMS system where it's called login com, where when they log in, it runs. And a guy left it open where I could enter an instruction suite in there. And it opened it up, and then I was just looking. It turned out it was a professor, and he reported me, and they brought me into this room. Every administrator was in this room, and I wet myself because they were going to expel me. This is School of Mines, this is engineering, and I was just like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And it was a very serious look, and I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to do anything. I saw it. I thought that I was learning, and they shut the door. We'll get back to you. And I'm literally like going home to change my pants because I wet the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And a computer science lady comes running after me. She goes, that was a really clever thing to do. Do you want a job?
Oh, wow.
And they gave me a job in the consulting center, which I was making $20 an hour in the 80s.
Dude, that's huge.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I then I went from the dark side to how can you make money?
Black hat to white hat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was because they caught me at this very vulnerable point in time. And so, anyway, I don't think I've told many people that story because
That's a cool story.
past the statute of limitations.
I won't rat you out anyway.
The CEO of the software company just talks about how he's a hacker.
Great.
Yeah. Fortunately, I didn't mention that virus protection guy.
I know exactly what company you're talking about. Based out in San Diego?
I didn't want to talk about the part of the world he was from, but he had an accent.
Yeah. Kaspersky?
It wasn't Rusky.
Oh, okay.
But anyway. But so you've been cyber for all this time. You've been multiple cyber companies, right?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I have. And some of it a blend. So I worked for F5 Networks for 7 years. And back then, they were the world leader in like application delivery controllers and basically load balancers. But there was a big security component to that. So it was recognizing applications and being able to protect applications. And the beginnings of IAM or identity access management, who are you, right? Yeah. Before like companies like Okta and stuff like that kind of ruled it. So there's always been a cyber component, a security component to everything I've done. But I guess it was either networking or cybersecurity. And now they're converging. So at the beginning of my career, you had a network team and you had a security team, and they hated each other's guts. Actually, I can tell you a story. At F5, my SE, Jeffrey, and I were doing this meeting, and the CIO was there, and the whole network team was there, the whole cybersecurity team was there. And in typical fashion, Jeffrey and I would always crack jokes and tell stories, and it was just deadpan silent the whole time. And I remember Jeffrey standing up at one point going, "What's the matter with you guys? Do you all hate each other or something?" Yes. On the way out, we're just chatting with the CIO, and he goes, "By the way, everybody in that room hated each other."
So have you done presentations like that overseas or primarily here in the States?
I have done it all over the world. And I have, if you want to hear the kind of the biggest kind of nuclear explosion of a presentation I ever did, I was working for the world's leading proxy company back then. In fact, every mobile phone transaction that happened in Europe at the time went across a proxy that I actually sold. And I had to do a presentation at the House of Lords. Big British government. Yeah. So I had to go through all these security things and finally got brought into this room. And it was a massive room Actually, it's probably maybe double this, but one of that wall was a digital whiteboard.
Wow.
And they told me, they said, you're the first guy to ever use this. We just put it in. It's
Nice.
50,000 pounds. So I grabbed the marker out of the marker bucket
Oh,
and I filled up the wall.
don't tell me it was not a real marker.
It was not a dry erase marker.
They had to replace that entire wall.
So tell me about your next job.
The funny thing was they
It is
still
funny.
bought. Well, it wasn't my fault. I mean, I pulled them
Why would they have like a real marker next to that? It's crazy.
in the same bucket with the dry erase.
I know.
I wasn't blamed for it, but that was pretty early in my career, and I will never forget it. That's when people ask, what's the worst presentation you ever did? That was one of the best presentations I ever did with one of the worst outcomes.
That's crazy. He's got the deal, so it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
That's
I'll tell you, this job actually made it so that speaking in front of people, it just became easy.
Yeah.
People get really nervous, like gigs. People get really nervous. I don't anymore because I've spoken at conventions. I've done all these things in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, and you get to the point where you know what you're talking about, and you've got to convey that confidence, and you just kind of get past that.
Yeah. It depends also, I think, on what side of the spectrum you're on, right? So I know I sit on like this borderline pure autistic, but more like Asperger. And so empathy, I had this discussion actually with a previous podcast. That's, is it something that's learned or is it innate? And I think if you're highly empathetic, you're always looking at reactions of people and that sort of thing. Your brain's picking up on the stuff. And for me, if you notice, I actually, when I talk, I often look around, not necessarily, when I listen, I'm locked on.
Yeah.
It's because I don't maybe pick up on facial expressions or people bored or not, and that sort of thing. So for me, I've never, ever had an issue, knock on wood, like in front of big audiences.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't had, actually, I think a couple thousand at one presentation. And often there are these situations where I'm like doing a demo that's almost by definition, a demo is expected to fail. But I always pride myself that I'd dive and catch or I wouldn't have failures. But I never got nervous, ever. And which is, I don't know, I'm back, put baby in the back, right? On the back line, on the drums and stuff. No one ever sees me anyway, but I'm nervous.
Yeah.
But people are front line, they're always worried about how they're looking and, of course, how they're performing, but never bothered me. But again, I think it comes back to where you are on the spectrum.
Yeah. I never got nervous. So the beginnings of my musical career, I did. But that was at the same time that my professional career was going.
Yeah.
And I think that coincided together to make it so that I didn't get nervous.
Yeah, let's talk music for briefly, because I know that when I hear you play, I can never imagine you as this hard rock, head bashing pit player, right? It's like butter when you play. It's smooth. It's not just or whatever that is, the music that you toured with. First of all, is that truly music you enjoy, or are you faking it?
That's a great question. I grew up a headbanger. I did. The very first album I ever remember owning was Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, at 10 years old. I learned to play guitar by stealing my brother's white Hondo Strat fake copy thing. Okay. And I would sit down with Kill 'Em All by Metallica, and I would put my fingers on the strings until it sounded like that. So that was really what I liked. And until probably 10 years ago, that was really still my primary music. Chokehold, the band I was in, was like...
I just forgot that's the name. That's my definition. You know what kind of music.
It's a pretty good giveaway, right? Not to mention our logo was literally a triangle around a skull.
Oh, man.
That was really heavy metal. And I guess at some point you grow up. And not to say that everyone who's a metalhead is immature, but I think your tastes change. Yeah. I guess 15 years ago, I got really into artists like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah. I was always into Eric Clapton. I was always into Eric Johnson. But Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then that led on to Joe Bonamassa. And then I wanted to push my skills further, and I started getting into like neoclassical kind of guitar and really learning all that kind of stuff. And heavy metal just faded away. And then I met Maya, and now I like country.
Oh, man. First of all, I didn't know Maya liked country.
Yeah, she's a country girl.
That's interesting because I do the mixes, obviously, participate. And every once in a while, there's like a day where it's just every song someone throws out there is country. And I think they know that I hate it. It's just, let's just fuck with Steve. Then I go home and Kirsten just playing country and it's really shoot me now.
For me, it's got to fit. It's got to be really stompy, really rocky.
Yeah.
I have never been able to shed that rock and roll. If you look at the Mayan Effect in the music we played, it was a lot of pretty high energy rock and roll. And I think that's the kind of the trailing effect of my heavy metal days. And not to mention, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. We had glam metal and grunge.
Yeah, gosh, I don't even characterize that as music, but that's just me. You compare it to like Clapton versus Iron Maiden or something. I don't know. It's just
Steve, this is going to completely disappoint you, but 15-year-old me had Iron Maiden posters all over his bedroom.
and most people that age had like Bo Derek or something.
I did have the Lamborghini behind my bed with the girl on the hood.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, but so were you formally taught or just teach yourself all those years?
No, I taught myself. So my dad was in a band in the 50s called the Atlanteans, and he lent me his acoustic guitar and he showed me C, G, D, and E. And we would play 60s music. And it was not what I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
But Dad, coming from the 60s, he had no understanding of heavy metal or power chords or even how to solo. So I literally stole my brother's electric guitar and I sat down. And after a year, my dad finally came in the room and said, "Look, you're really putting in the work. How about for Christmas we get you an electric guitar?" And I'm like, perfect. And so I think I was 10 and they got me a Fender heavy metal Strat.
Nice.
And then every day for pretty much the next 20 years, you'd find me in my room for a couple hours after football practice.
Yeah, and like most guitar players, you probably have 40 guitars, right?
Like storage unit with their guitars.
I think at last count I have 72.
Oh man, I was totally joking at 40 level. That's borderline. Like you have some sort of illness, dude.
Dude, you can even play that many?
Yeah. I'll admit it's a sickness. It's guitar acquisition syndrome. I think I have, it's gas.
Gas.
I actually think I have 19 amps. So if you go in our garage, there's just amps lined up. You go into my studio upstairs, there's probably another 10 amps. Yeah, I've got to admit, for the first time, I'm actually really happy with my collection. And a lot of the guitars I had were for heavy metal. So they were touring guitars or guitars I used on albums and stuff like that. And I'm actually ready to let those all go.
You just keep the ones that you actually use. So all you do is look at the thickness of dust, and then you see which ones you haven't used and get rid of those. That's a rule. Like when you move, if you moved more than once and you still have things in boxes from 2 houses ago,
Get rid of them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. As someone who you might remember when your parents passed, I dealt with that with my mom. She had this ton of stuff. And in fact, here we kept her art collection for a couple of years. She had it in storage unit for years. And ultimately, I wound up just giving it away to one of the artists. And I know my father was, before he passed, was going through estate sales of his houses. And it's just junk. We spend the first half of our life collecting shit and the last half getting rid of it, right?
Yeah.
But we have just too much stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And my garage is unusable. So one wall of my garage is my mom's stuff from when we moved out. And I've actually informed my brothers, like, look, guys, come.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Your brothers.
I've told my brothers, I'm like, come choose what you want because the rest is going to get donated.
Yeah.
All my kids are out of the house now. And I would rather have a smaller house, something that's a little cozier, a little less maintenance intensive.
You have a beautiful house. You scored in this. I mean, it's wonderful that with the koi pond and all that stuff.
It requires so much work.
Does it? Does it?
It's almost an acre of land, and the koi pond, you got to deal with that on a daily basis. The pool that nobody uses.
Yeah.
I'm all about simplifying my life right now.
Is your pool like lappy pool, or is it one of these like weird, like kidney bean shaped things?
It's kind of kidney bean shaped, but a little less pronounced of that.
Yeah.
And then the jacuzzi is up above it. But it's got waterfalls and all this stuff, and I don't want to deal with any of that.
Yeah. That requires maintenance. Right?
You got to have all the vines cut back and all that stuff. And yeah, now I want a simple life. I've had enough of this. The kids are out. They've grown up. We did our job.
Yeah, they come back and for maybe their weekend.
Yeah. Who said they were allowed to come back? Actually, Max just came back from the Army, so he was with us for a week and a half. He left back to his permanent duty station on Wednesday.
Nice.
So it was nice to have him back. If we move to a smaller house that's got 2 or 3 bedrooms, there's still plenty of room for people to come and visit.
Yeah, and like you're a home office guy, so you always need at least one as an office.
Exactly. And I got to house the guitar collection.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got proof from 72 to, oh my God, we got to go to 60. I can't, that was 12. I got to go to 12.
I think I only have maybe 20 in the actual house. The rest are actually in a storage unit.
Oh, man, big guy. You got to just sell those.
I will.
Unless there's some are like, first of all, value is a function of what someone's willing to pay. And so maybe now's not the best time because people are not buying. Musicians generally are broke as well. So they don't go buy guitars, but you get someone who's well off and they want to have a guitar collection. So do you have some real valuable that no one else has signed edition or something?
Not signed. I've got some historic Gibsons, some historic Les Pauls, and those are my babies. They will never go anywhere.
Yeah.
But those are my main guitars. In fact, my 68 was the one I played every Mind Effect gig with.
Right.
So I'm out there playing a rare historic Les Paul at every single gig. But I think guitars are tools. They're meant to be used.
Yeah, I totally agree. In fact, I loved what you did with mine. You just have like this unit of just plug and play. You go pop and it's on. Just kind of like I have one button, turn everything on here now. Except I have to reposition cameras. But you had all the sound, there's, I'm sure, recording going on there, just all that.
It was a plug and play. It was a show up and throw up scenario. And it was great. And the cool thing about it is, like, we would play a gig and I could save that snapshot for that venue. So the next time we came, I just reloaded that snapshot.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. Especially when you're the sound guy, the roadie, and the guitar player at the same time. It's a lot of work. So it's nice just to plug things in. Everybody knows their job. Everyone knows what to plug in where, and then you're done.
So I have to give you kudos. You brought Maya at least to the point where she could wrap cables. And before that, I was in a band with her, and she would be like, pop, take her mic and just Lee. And I'd be just like, what the hell? Because I did drums and sound, but even I love Don. Don Patterson's great. He'll finish his keys and then he'll go hang out with people and drink and stuff. And I'm on the stage winding shit up. And I'm like, oh, could you at least wind up your cable? But then I remember after you got, I wouldn't say trained, or maybe you informed by how to wind a cable. And the best looking cables I've ever seen. It's like cable porn. I've taken pictures of them. She winds them great.
Oh, her OCD, everything has to be perfect. She'll come and look at some of the ones I've wound and gone, who even wound that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that's metamorphosed.
I know. The teacher became the student.
Yeah. You're like your Navy knots and stuff, like quick release.
I know in Blue Vinyl that it was an escape plan straight away. I'll tell you, she actually was winding cables, grabbing mic stands. Yeah, she couldn't lift PAs, but everything else she was a part of and helping.
You had to be when you're in a small unit like that. Actually, originally was raised on vinyl.
Yeah.
And then Blue Vinyl.
And you guys had 75 people in that.
It's crazy. We each got $1 for a gig. It's like, I'm the CEO of the group. I've like spent the whole day, get my stuff there, unwinding here and getting there, getting the gigs a lot of times. And we get like our $200 spread over all these people. And I got $5.
Yeah. So they say that the definition of a musician is $5,000 worth of gear, $5,000 worth of gear hauled 50 miles for the $50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't do it at this age for the bucks. You do it for pleasure.
There were moments on stage with the Mind Effect where we would all connect and look at each other, and there would be that big grin.
Yeah.
And that's the moment that counts in a band.
Yeah.
You know, that you're in the pocket, everything's hitting, the audience is going nuts, and you just know you've got it right.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously I'm doing almost everything in here now, and occasionally little groups in the back there with the observation room and parties and stuff like July 3rd stuff. But I seek those moments where we lock in and we don't have the crowds of people who are locked in. That's not needed. It's just the musicians like locked in together and they enjoy it just for that moment.
When the whole band's in the pocket, there's nothing like it.
It's crazy. And what's interesting, I was in a band years ago. It was this reggae band, the bald guy in a reggae band. It was just 3 guys. And we would rehearse where the front guy would just face that way and the bass guy and I, we were just never looking at each other. I just see their asses. That was, it was no big deal because we figured we might as well rehearse like we're going to perform. And we were gigging like twice a week. Sometimes it was nuts. Then I got in this group, Kirk. You think you ever met Kirk?
I remember the name, but I don't think I met him.
Yeah, hopefully you can get back on the mainland. He moved to Hawaii. I think you really enjoyed playing with him. And he said, no, we got to face each other in a small group. And he started with just Blaze, who you might have met.
I know Blaze.
Yeah, Blaze. Yeah. He's in Too Bad now, right?
Yeah.
And me, and we're just the back line. Then he started systematically building. He brought Johnny Conga in, and then Jerome Sachs. But we faced each other, and it taught me you play not just to each other, with each other.
Yeah.
And
you can communicate without having to say a word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of that is very visual. And so he didn't like gigging that much. Maybe we did 3 or 4 total gigs in 3 or 4 total years. It was, I think that taught me a lot, that like music is who you're playing with, and not necessarily who you're playing to. Yeah. But that's just, I'm not a pro, but that's the way I feel.
No, it's a shared sport, 100%.
Yeah.
I guess, I think like we've said, that moment where it all comes together, whether it's on stage in front of 20,000 people or it's in here just for the 5 people who are playing, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be curious what your thoughts on this, because it is a little sciencey. I know you had your interest in biology, even though you decided to go elsewhere. I've had this side project for years that you might have heard for the first time now that aligns with why I do this. So I'm a big microbiome guy, right? So you are basically what's in and on you, and you are your genes, of course, but also all those bacteria, fungi, yeast, all that stuff. And years ago, I came across, first I was inspired by Sedona, that I noticed the vibrational effect. I could feel it, but I felt it in my gut, right? And gut is a big place of a lot of your microbiome. And I thought, wow, I bet you sound interacts, or bacteria interface with sound in ways we don't understand. And I started to research this a bit, and there are people who actually use sound to dial in and up and down regulate bacteria. And so I actually have had this long-going project where we're trying to find ways to increase people's wellness as a function of sound that they're experiencing, and not in their in-ears, but full body exposure.
Yeah.
And so I think back to your grunge years where you're basically just like vibrating the shit out of everything. You basically reset everything, right? But then you think about how you evolved musically. Can you think about your life and like when you felt the fast physically, not just emotionally, but physically, and how that might align with music and the type of music?
I think there was a few times in my life, obviously playing football, I was in great shape. I was playing really heavy metal, and I felt pretty good. But I guess if I were to boil it down, the best I ever felt in my life was we just started doing the Mind Effect, and I had just started doing those kind of MMA workouts, and this was before my 3 hernias. And
where one wasn't enough.
Apparently not. My dad said never do anything halfway. But I was doing these classes and I was working out. They were burning 1,000 calories, and it's all hit. You work out for 4 minutes and you get 30 seconds, and it's all MMA based, a lot of punching, a lot of kicking, but there's a lot of push-ups, a lot of burpees and all this stuff. And I came through that at the end of doing that for about 1.5 years, and I felt awesome. I was eating clean. Yeah. I wasn't drinking. I've never been a big drinker. I think.
Wait, so, but what's not a big drinker? Not 10 drinks a day or something?
So when I was in college, I was a huge drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had literally a 9-foot pyramid in my dorm room. Wow. But when I got out of college and stuff like that, I maybe a couple beers a week, not big at all. And then there was occasional big nights out. I'd go out with my friends, and so maybe once a week it was a big night. But that was about the extent of it. And then COVID, and I think like most of the world, my level of drinking went up. But now it's starting to taper back down. Oh no, there were nights where we could have polished off three bottles of wine, no problem.
Yeah. You had your own little sphere or bubble that you were working there on that, right there in that time. But so when you were physically very active with the MMA stuff, and that was during Mind music. Let's see, how would you characterize that type of music?
High energy dance music, because it really was so multi-genre. We did Santana, we did Journey, we did do some country, not a lot, but we did some. We even did some hair metal. We played some Poison, and we played Van Halen, and we played, we played Def Leppard.
Wow.
But we also did things like Lady Gaga, Four Non Blondes. So it was a lot of different music, but none of it was heavy metal.
Yeah.
Van Halen was about as close to metal as we got. And I think melody, I think that has a big effect on people. I think that engages your brain.
Yeah.
I liked the math behind heavy metal when I was younger. There's a lot of math. It's a lot of polyrhythms, rhythms changing constantly, a lot of ways that you're changing how you're playing on the fly. And now more I appreciate the harmony and the melody. And I really get more into what was that guy thinking when he wrote it? And if I would have written that, how would I have written it that way? So with the Mind Effect, I would play like the iconic parts of the solos, but then parts that weren't iconic, I'd like, how would I have done that? And I'll change it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the melody, it's the story, and humans really communicate from the beginning through stories, right? And so that's one way to bring people together and get on the same page, so to speak. I've always likened the lows as being a carrier wave.
Yeah.
And the mids sort of coming along with it to bridge to the story. But you need them all. And it's interesting you said polyrhythmic. I thought it was more random.
No,
I have to study it more. I never listened to it and left it.
Yeah. And in fact, sometimes there could be multiple rhythms going on at the same time.
I see.
Yeah.
So like jazz, but just over the top.
Not quite as freeform, but very distorted. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's interesting you bring up the sound waves and stuff because our bodies are basically electrical reactors, right? Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with vibration and how things vibrate against each other, stuff like that. I've just started getting into grounding. I don't know.
Okay.
And I read a lot of research about how like the blood platelets would actually align when you were grounded versus the chaos and all that stuff.
I'm surprised.
And I mean, there's a lot out there that's pluses and negatives. And I know a lot of our group is into things like cold plunges.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, one day you might.
I sauna.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Any kind of hormesis, any stress is good.
Yeah. But I think that sound waves will have that same form, kind of effect because it's going to affect how things vibrate internally within your body.
You nailed it, because sound is basically a pressure wave.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, you probably didn't know this about me, because my graduate work, I worked in AI and protein structures. That in itself, if you just look at the superficial level, what does that mean? I studied to great extent what protein structures look like, and they're just big biological machines. And what's often embedded in membranes are these machines that serve a purpose. And there's a really cool, you might find on YouTube even, looking at the whole complex of ATP generation. And it's literally like a machine spinning, right?
Yeah.
And our mitochondria are like just the keys to so much of wellness, but also like dysbiosis and disease, right? If your mitochondria are screwed, you're hosed. So I try to find ways to just improve the health of mitochondria as best possible. And I know that pressure, vibration, our infrared therapy, cold plunge does a shock, but then gets you warm. And all this stuff, it causes change that, in large sense, move these molecular machines around. And just like we as humans, we know when you are not moving, immobile, your demise is very rapid.
100%.
Yeah, you need to move. Same with the proteins in your body. And they're moving nonstop anyway, but if you can help them move even more, you're like exercising your proteins.
Yeah.
And so I think music does that, right? The little stressors like cold plunges and saunas do that. Infrared therapy does that. Drinking, I think, works against that. You got to be careful because it dulls it out.
I completely agree with that. I go to the gym. I've started getting back into that. I've been hiking a lot. So I think you need to be in motion. I think you need to exercise your body and you need to exercise your mind.
Yeah.
I think music is a great exercise for the brain, but you've also got to, I read. I love to read. I love history. I have an innate ability to regurgitate pretty much anything I will read.
Wow.
It actually got me through school.
So you know, almost photographic memory?
Almost photographic memory, yeah.
Oh, that's you. Lucky son of a bitch. That's huge.
I think I got that from my dad, and my older brother has that too. My younger two really don't, but yeah, I could remember the book, and oh yeah, that's that.
You don't go to the page number kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Not at that depth, but like I can remember our dryer being on fire when I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
Back in Burgess Hill in England. Like I can remember the firemen picking me up and putting me in the fire truck, and that's that old school late mid-70s fire truck. Yeah. And so my brain works for facts and it works for figures. But funnily, probably couldn't remember half of the people I graduated high school with, and my graduating class was 32 people.
Oh, wow.
So that's where my memory fails.
It's okay.
But if you want to know an event in history that happened that I read in a book 20 years ago, I'll probably be able to remember it.
And so do you actually do a lot of extrapolation from that data? Or do you draw major conclusions or just know the facts?
Both.
Yeah.
Both, depending on the context of whatever conversation I'm having. So there can be extrapolations. It could be like, so somebody, what happened on this? And I'm like, oh, the answer is that. I was in a store yesterday and they were talking about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And the guy said, I heard it's about to fall down. I went, no, actually, they fixed that 3 years ago. And here's what they did. And I could remember reading the article on it.
Yeah. It still leans, though, don't they?
They recorrected it back to the original lean.
Because I still see pictures with people doing this. And they look like, come on, really?
Steve, if I ever do that, you can hit me with one of my guitars.
Yeah. They've got 72 of them. So what people, all I have to do is make you go in the room and I'll just hit the walls or something. And they're going to be falling on you.
But yeah, it's like I can remember my very first phone number.
Yeah.
And I actually remember my best friend's phone number from being a tiny little kid.
Yeah.
Facts and figures I remember really well. People, not quite so much, which probably not a great thing for a sales guy.
Get this, terrible names, for example. I remember the people, faces, what they did, in particular what they did to me or didn't do to me. But seriously, the names, sometimes my own family.
Yeah.
Which, family?
Yeah.
I was just joking.
And who are you?
No, not bad, but yeah, as we get older, you have to worry about this stuff. And I think I mentioned I'm going to absolutely do a whole session on what I went through with my father. It's interesting. The last podcast I did, I just posted it. I don't know if you saw it. It was with a guy I've interacted with over the years, another CEO. And I literally got the text that my dad passed at the very end of the podcast.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. And so it was just, I'm looking at this. It was my brother-in-law, and he kept texting me. I'm just like, dude, I'm doing a podcast. Yeah. And eventually I'm just like, maybe I should take this. And I think I caught it at the very end of the recording. But I didn't include that. But it was interesting to see because you study yourself in those kinds of situations. And I could tell I was like multitasking and reading. And I just thought, oh, shit, my dad died. And I'm like, and I got to take this call. But it was just, that shows you how much I'm on the spectrum, right? Most people are like, my God, I'm just, oh shit, my dad died. But there's a whole slew of points I want to raise when I do a subsequent cast on this, because we're at the age, Maya's going through this, you went through it years ago. I know Kirsten's going through this. A lot of our friends, their parents have either passed or they're on their way out. And we're called the sandwich generation, I guess.
Yeah.
Now. Not exactly, because you still take care of your kids, but then you have to take care of your parents. And it's, what about me? Does Maya have that with her parents or not? Or she?
Not quite so much. Their parents are still pretty much active, especially the mom. And my dad was obviously 52 when he passed. Yeah. And that's another whole topic, because I just turned 51 last month. Refocusing on health is something that I'm really into at the moment. But my mom was 72. She passed in 2018. And mom had cancer, and there was a lot of taking care of my mom. Mom got sick over a long period of time and required, at one point, pretty much full-time care for about 90 days, maybe 100 days. And I and my brothers, we were there.
Caregivers?
Yeah, we were. And so, yeah, that's something I completely understand that. But it's almost different for me because I've been, I don't want to say an orphan, because obviously I was an adult when mom passed. I've been without my parents for a pretty long time now.
Yeah. Yeah, when my sister passed 4 years ago, I gave a eulogy, and amongst others, and my dad actually also gave a eulogy. It's tough to see your child die, so that was one of the things that I think hit him years ago. But I remember using the phrase, when someone passes, you can never talk to them again.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's an obvious point, right? But sometimes a single sentence can be so impactful.
100%.
And I remember, actually, when I first became a CEO, like a quarter century ago, there was no instruction manual, and the board voted it, and I was just like, okay, now what does this mean? And the lawyer on the way, he's packing up his briefcase. He said, you know what it means now that you're the CEO? And I said, I think so. And he goes, it means you can enter the company in agreements. Closed his briefcase and left. And that was the only one sentence. You can enter your company into agreements. And at the end of the day, that's really, I'm talking about CEOs, you're worried about the shareholders. No, they can truly enter a company into agreements. And the other executive team, sometimes they delegate that, but that is just like the most powerful sentence that I ever had. And just like saying, it's so weird. How is it connected? But it's sometimes a single sentence can mean so much. And then when someone passes, you sure hope they had their shit together, because you can't ask them not just what they were thinking or how they're feeling, but like, where did they put X, Y, Z?
Oh, yeah.
And that stuff is huge. Fortunately, I'm an IT guy. I spent 2 weeks just cracking into my dad's various accounts, hacking into them. And of the thing, this is the most important lesson I want people to learn about in this little bit monologue. Make sure you do legacy contact on your iPhone if you have that. What it does is, if something happens to you, the trusted contact can get into your phone. And your phone is just like a window into so many things, right?
Everything.
So my dad wrote down some passwords, shitty handwriting, no PIN. You get like 10 attempts and then you get locked out. And then you could get like FBI and court, and you still can't get into an iPhone. They won't let you in. So it's like legacy contact, right? It's a key little learning experience.
I didn't actually know that. I'm going to totally do that.
Yeah. You got to have people know about your shit. And I've just gotten deep through this. And I know, you obviously want to say things to people that you want, them to know what you're thinking and how you care about them and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can never speak to them again, or the people who are living can't speak to you again, where the fuck did you put that storage unit for those 50 guitars, damn it? Where's the storage unit?
I'm going to totally do like a treasure hunt.
That's what my dad had done to me. You do not want to do that.
Seriously.
Oh, but might at least be funny.
That might have been, he might have thought it was funny. Hackers on that fight.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It'll all be documented. Saying that one sentence to be impactful. When my dad passed, I was 20. It was 4 days before my 23rd birthday. And so my dad wasn't a part of most of the big events in my life.
Yeah.
And that one sentence of, I'm proud of you now that you're 50 would be huge.
Yeah.
It's the things you think on back, now when you think about your dad, what would dad have thought of what I did with my life?
Yeah.
So it works both ways. It's the fact that they're gone and they can never give you that opinion that one was so important to you when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And probably is still important as an adult. Maybe not quite the same impact, but when you lost that so suddenly, that was severed, it still resonates.
Yeah.
But then the other half of that is organize your stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's so much, I guess, I think is assumed. Obviously, I'm very proud of my kids. I actually done 2 podcasts, actually 3, because Lily had 2. And part of that was just help memorialize an interaction.
Yeah.
Because down the road, they could look at it and maybe they haven't even watched the full sessions. But that's why I'm doing this even with you. And I say even with you, but just in general.
Even just you. It's significant, right?
Hey, I was shocked.
No.
I think everyone's interesting. It's like, I listen to a ton of podcasts, and they're always like the same people going around the circuit trying to sell shit. And it just drives me nuts. I think anyone has some really valuable things to say. And I like our friends and family see the stuff, because I bet you a ton of people had no idea about some of your past.
Being the new guy, I really jumped at the chance because I've always respected every conversation we have, and I'm still learning everybody. I've been in this group now 6 years, so I'm still the baby of the group. And every person in this group really adopted me and put their arms around me. It's a great group of people, but I'm still learning who they are. And part of that was every time we were there, I was always up on stage playing an instrument. And it's hard to get people's stories when you're up there. So this kind of interaction and actually hearing, conversing, right? And actually understanding each other is impactful. Because ultimately, the most important thing we have is our relationship with other people.
I totally agree. And it's so critical. In fact, the Harvard study, that the longest running study of longevity, it's one of the key things is just having a close network of people.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not always out there with the groups of people, because often I'm focusing on other shit, but I like to engage once in a while. I still think it is still scientifically very much microbiome and energy. So when you're together with people, you share microbiome, right?
Yeah.
And I think that builds so much strength and weakness too, right? So sometimes if people are not feeling well, I'm like, you keep your shit away, because it's like, I was joking. I don't mind hugging, right? Because he's a hugger, but I generally don't like hugging people.
Yeah.
That was my last podcast. I like hugging up. Like if you're an Olympian, but I look at it in terms of let's strengthen the group in general. And if someone's weaker at that point, then maybe they should step back a little bit. But I know everyone needs everyone at all times.
Yeah.
And so I just think the long picture. So maybe a short-term step away, but man, come right back when you're good to go.
Yeah.
So
That whole microbiome thing didn't do the world a lot of favors in 1311.
I know. That's because it was only perceived as pathogenic at that point, right?
Yeah.
I know. You're absolutely right. Because it could be one shit that spoils the whole punch. But there's
Yeah.
a ton of really, you look at a little tiny bit of water on the ground, it's filled, just teeming with tons of bacteria, fungi, yeast. There might be one pathogen in there, but the rest is incredibly important.
Yeah. And all jokes aside, I actually agree with you. I think we actually, as a people, need to be around each other in order to keep our immune system strong.
I totally agree.
Yeah. I think isolating what we did during COVID, I think put us years back in our immunity.
Yeah. It could be. It depended. if you also isolated, I think, in like your apartment and didn't get outside. And I said, look, with my family, I forced isolation in large part because Hannah, I don't know if you knew this, Hannah was doing a CNA for senior homes.
Yeah, I
so
did.
we couldn't vector in.
Yeah.
I would just feel guilty for the rest of my life if she killed people. And I know she saw a lot of death. Actually, it was pretty scary. But I was outside every single day walking. I never used to walk in this neighborhood. Now I walk like sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
And there's so much outside in terms of just what's in the air and the soil and all. That's constantly also helping you build your immune system. Eating the right foods. And so I totally transformed my diet and during the closures. And yeah, we disappeared for a year and a half, 2 years. But when we came back, it's just, I feel totally different. So
Yeah, I need to do one of those where they actually look at your makeup because even 5 years ago, I could shed weight. And now, I mean, I'm still on a high protein diet. I do have some carbs, but they're generally clean. And I'm hiking 3 times a week. I'm working out 3 times a week. I walk on two days a week. And I'll tell you, and now that I'm 51 and just turned, it's it creeps down. It's not.
Yeah,
So I just started taking turmeric, milk thistle, dandelion.
Cool.
Just to try and get my liver working faster because I know that helps regulate metabolism.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm learning more and more about like how to affect my body to increase my health. And again, my dad was 51 when he was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm not planning on going anywhere.
Yeah, look, it's like I said, nature loads a gun, but it's not destined, right? And, and I think your environment is huge. Keeping stress levels down, getting that with which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Everything. It's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
And even eating tons of plants is hormetic stress because plants have these chemical defense weapons to keep insects away, right? And those often, you hear polyphenols, these are actually like chemical warfare. And they affect our bacteria in our bodies in just a stressor way.
Yeah.
And we come back stronger.
Yeah.
And so that's why a plant-based diet's important, but you don't want to be pure plant-based because first of all, we don't have enough nutrients in our current plant systems today, but you want to have meat once in a while. And as long as it's decent, not overly processed, you need to eat moderation. Stress, a little bit of stress here and there, but not too much. I call it J curve. It's like that Goldilocks. A little bit, but not too much.
As a guy who's based most of his life in science, in fact, in what you can prove and disprove, where do you think your own personal mindset comes to play within your health?
I think they're intertwined. And I think clarity of mind improves when you're feeling better inside. If I get a weird bite to eat or something, my stomach's like bothering me, I know I'm just off and I just can't focus on anything but that. I need solution, got to get rid of that. But once you're feeling okay or good, my mind's quite clear.
Yeah.
And then similarly, I think it goes both ways. You can actually, in your mind, have the discipline to get the stuff you just described. Not many people are doing the beach walks that you're talking about and the MMA, and you're intense. You're very disciplined. Over the years, you've had to be a self-trained musician to the level you're at. You clearly have discipline. So you've got that. There's no question about it. The thing that we fight as we get older, though, is that we've got this toxic environment.
Yeah.
We're like fish in a fishbowl living in our own shit. So you live off in a nice area where there's trees, and so getting outside is really helpful, eating well.
I make sure I get in the sun every day.
Yeah. Even with your pale complexion.
You should see my farmer's tab.
Yeah.
reason I had to break it up is I do automatic translation, and it can't handle too big of a file. So,
Oh, really? Yeah, that's cool.
that's what you get out every day. You eat
Well, yeah, and Maya cooks. Filipino food is really nutritious.
dude. She's just fats.
Yeah.
Fat, yeah.
So I think my biggest vice and where actually I gained weight was really from drinking.
Yeah.
And during those COVID years, it's just what you did. It started off at 7:00, got nothing to do, can't go anywhere. And then at the end of it, is it 5 yet? Is it 5 yet?
Wow.
501, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, wine has this false sense of security, and unfortunately, a lot of our network of friends, they feel like, oh, it's good. Wine isn't good for you.
No.
And you have to drink bushelful, just crates and crates to get enough resveratrol to actually, and it's still arguable if it's actually going to be helpful. There's an element of lowering the stress level that might be useful, but it fucks with my sleep. Big time.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting because I don't need to. I feel like alcohol, I feel it set back. Kirsten and I went to Temecula actually yesterday. And every time we go, of course, I'll drink like a bottle of wine, right? But I don't really drink much at all after that. And I feel like crap, really, the next day, right? Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, this isn't worth it.
I agree. And then there's the misconception that people think if I drink whiskey, there's no carbs. Or if I drink vodka, there's no carbs. Alcohol's a sugar, and your body's going to convert it to sugar no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will lower your blood sugar, but that it basically has your fat cells suck in the blood glucose.
Yep.
And that's what you don't want to have, right? Alcohol. If you cut out alcohol completely, it might, maybe you don't like to do that, but I, for one, I don't feel much better when I drink, and I sure as hell feel like crap when I drink. So it's like a no-brainer for me.
I would say my industry has a lot of positives. It's only getting bigger. It's only getting more necessary. And it started off at edge protection with firewalls, and now it's in the cloud and cloud security, posture management, data security. The acronyms go on. Yeah. Literally, my company has 57 products, all basically security or networking based. But being a sales guy means you have a lot of free time, which is a great thing. You set your own schedule, but it means you take customers out. And I've been traveling a lot. Yeah. And that means dinners out with clients, that clients want bottles of wine. And the lifestyle is not sometimes conducive to being teetotal. I think the skill to master is fine if you have a business meeting, have 1 or 2 glasses of wine and cut it down. But then Monday through Thursday, don't touch it. If you want to drink on Friday with the friends group, great. But then Sunday, don't be drinking again. Yeah. And that's something I have to get better at, self-disciplining. And I used to be excellent at it. I really just, drink to me was like, oh, Friday night with the friends, fine. But if I didn't go out on Friday, I didn't drink.
So it's interesting. I know that with probably Gen Z or just the younger generations drinking less, it's pretty much, it's actually showing in the numbers as well. There's still this layer of folks that are still in the world that you're describing where they want to go to business dinners and drink. I remember years ago, I was in a field application settings. I wasn't directly selling, but I was technically selling. And I was at those dinners as well. And every time the wine would come around, I'd say, no, I'm not going to have any. And they go, sure. And I said, no, I actually don't drink. And they go, do you not drink or do you just not drink? And I'm like, no, I just don't like it. And then I started doing triathlon. So I could say, I'm training. But, there was so much like just pressure, forcing it, right?
Yeah.
But my guess is that it's about repositioning and rebranding it. So when you're at those meals, if you feel you don't want to drink, you're like, hey, more for you guys. More for you guys. Wine can only have 4 or 5 glasses. So now you have more.
It's funny. At some of these events, I've actually said I'm keto.
Yeah.
And then they never ask again. It's like, they're like, oh, okay, I get that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's one way to go. Yeah, but I have a feeling that's going to factor out because the younger generation is not drinking as much anymore, and I think that's great. I think drinking it served a purpose during stressful times, but I think it's just metabolically, our whole society is just screwed. I see it. Our country is just screwed. You're a tall guy, you're strong as shit, so I wouldn't consider you overweight. But there's some people who are way overweight, and they unfortunately don't have the ability anymore because they could be no carb and they have 1 piece of bread, like in the middle of the week, and their bodies change the system, and it just that one failure point will just wreak havoc. And so that's the problem.
Biology always comes back to one thing. Body wants to stay at homeostasis, right? Whatever point it's become accustomed to, that's where it wants to be. So you make a change and then you cheat on that change, your body will revert back to what it believes it should be. So it's not about a diet, it's about a lifestyle. And I need to drop 25 pounds. I know I do. And that's on me. And I'm getting it done. I'm not doing all the work. But you need to make everything a lifestyle. If you choose to do something, then it has to be what you choose to do. And that is where the discipline comes in. If you want to be a great musician, there's no shortcut practice.
You got practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have zero willpower. I'll be a guy who eats like a whole thing of Haagen-Dazs, right? I still want, as soon as I break that cherry of the sugar, man, I just can't stop, right? Because I don't have that self-regulating control. What amazingly happened, I've told this story before, during the closures, I went from being the starch and protein on my plate to a little bit of veggies to like almost all veggies. And I transformed my microbiome, my gut microbiome, in a way that it wasn't me anymore in willpower. It was basically my microbiome demanding what I needed.
Yeah.
And willpower, I think, is like impossible to rely on because we're too weak as humans, and men are especially weak with this. But if you have no choice because your body inside is saying you don't have any interest in sugar, here's a great example. I'm drinking black coffee now.
Me too.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I can't believe how flavorful it is, and it's bitter sometimes, but I've learned that the bitterness is actually what is good for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because your body's like recognizing it to be different. I used to load it up with sugar and cream.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. But to get to that point, there was no way willpower would enable it. Because I know that if I put 1 tablespoon of sugar in there, I'd be like, I'm a crack junkie.
Yeah.
That's the way it'd be. So you got to make your body do it for you.
I'll also argue your point about your willpower because I know every time I came into the neighborhood, you were always out there exercising. So you may not have willpower around sugar, but what you do have is personal discipline.
Yeah.
I've never been a sugar guy. I mean, even as a kid, I never ate candy. I just didn't care. If you said, do you want a barbecue chicken or do you want a Snicker? I picked the chicken.
Huh.
That's just always what I wanted.
Yeah, interesting.
But I have to kick myself out the door to go do that. I was out the door this morning at 6 a.m. to hit the gym before work.
Out. Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So this is, we say about this discipline point, I don't see it so much as discipline, is that I literally get a biological stability by working out. If I don't work out, I know like the spectrum I've described that I see that just gets overwhelming, not just for me, but for others. And so exercising I've seen is a very potent drug and I'm just addicted to it.
Yeah.
It's just like breathing.
The endorphins.
Right.
Yeah. Everything else.
Yeah.
The stress. Yeah, absolutely. If I go, I've just been up traveling for work and I try and hit the gym every day, but you can't go every day because sometimes you have early morning meetings. And by the end of that week, I just don't feel like myself anymore.
So it's about the difference, right? And seeing that. So I know when you think about, wrap it up shortly, but wow, it's already 5:45. We've been crushing this out. When you think about other folks, I overlook a lot of times the fact that we all come from different worlds and have different levels of discipline and grit and all that. But when you think other folks that we know that maybe are struggling with something, whether it's something physical or something emotional or whatever it is, I know just by saying stuff, those are just words, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be as impactful. But what do you think is a good way to encourage folks that maybe are struggling and haven't asked or have asked, but they just don't know how to fix it?
Within my own family, offer to work out with them, offer to change your diet with them, hold each other accountable, make it something you're doing together rather than something that's not about them. Every one of us has something to work on, right? I believe in having a mirror talk. Look yourself in the mirror, figure out what you like, what you don't like, and then what's your plan on fixing what you don't like?
Yeah.
But you can take that and you can extrapolate that out to what you know someone else is going through and say, hey, I'll go through this with you. So you're not alone. You're not going to struggle with this. You've got someone as backup. I think people need encouragement because there's too many and too easy ways to cheat on it, and especially when it comes to food. If being healthy by what you choose to eat is your problem, you only have to drive down the road 5 minutes and there's really horrible choices. Yeah. If you make an agreement with that person, hey, look, I'll go low carb with you. Here's what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? And then you do it together. I've worked out with family members before. I just said, hey, look, this is the program I'm going to do. I'd like you to join me, and let's do it together. And I think people get encouraged by having someone there to share it.
Interesting. You have siblings. You told me that.
I do. One older, two younger. Yeah.
So that's bred into you, right? It's a team sport, right?
Yeah, we smacked each other around as kids, but I swear if anybody said anything against one of us, we stood as a wall.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. So it's something that was inbred, especially within the family, that we go to war together.
Interesting. I had a sister. I was really an only child in the sense that I was the boy and she was the girl.
Yeah.
So we were just two
Totally
different
different
worlds.
dynamic. Yeah.
And so only child have a different perspective in general, I think. They have to be more self-reliant.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious for those who may struggle with something, if they have siblings, maybe make it a team sport.
Yeah.
And if they're an only child in one way or another, figure it out on your own.
No matter what, don't struggle alone.
Yeah.
Find somebody. Everyone's got a best friend. Share it. And I think my parents had amazing sayings. And as I'm getting older, I find myself parroting those sayings. One of my mom's was, a problem shared is a problem halved.
Nice. Halved. That's halved, right?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it still sneaks out. Every once in a while.
I did for translation there.
And because she was English.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no. So I do believe in, if you have something that's really deeply bothering you, get it out. Find a person you can trust, and I don't care whether it's a family member, friend, priest, whatever. Get it out there, and I think that begins that process of, I think maybe even talking about it makes it real. Now you can understand and process and put a plan in place to deal with it. If you internalize and stuff everything down, you're never going to deal with anything.
Yeah. I gotta imagine there's also situations where people are just so overwhelmed, they just have no idea how to solve it.
Yeah.
It's outside of their world. And again, I'm not as empathetic on this because my whole career has been having to figure stuff out myself.
Yeah.
And graduate work was doing research that was novel by definition. It's something that I can't communicate to folks. It's just they figure it out themselves. But
I was the same way, because obviously losing my dad at a young age, literally it was, okay, you're out the door. You have no house. You have nothing. I gave up my car, my job for 6 months to take care of my dad. And it was, at that point, it was like, okay, what are you going to do?
yeah.
And I learned to be more empathetic. And I'm sure my job had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. No, that's good. That you just made you who you are. It's good you came part of the network of friends, which is fairly tight if you think about it. In California, that's people tend to go their own ways, and it's been a fairly.
Besides the very first night I met you guys, where you all stiffed me with the bill.
That was a good story.
That was great. Then actually, if you study that night, that was what, Papagayo?
Yeah.
So you're the
Yeah.
fat guy who can remember stuff. The only reason I said to you, they ain't coming back, or whatever I said, where they just scattered,
Yeah.
Bill came your way, was because I was used to that as well. But I also hadn't eaten there because I always eat before I go to little
Yeah.
social gatherings.
Yeah.
It's just because I like to control my own environment. And so I was just used to it and observing it. But
Yeah.
Here's the bill, sir. That'll always be one of my favorite stories. Look, you guys are probably 70 super close people that have spent the last 27, 28 years together.
Years, yeah.
And I walked into your guys' life 6 years ago, and never for 1 second did I feel unwanted, unwelcomed. Everybody was amazing to me. A great laugh. I have enjoyed every single person in this group.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because that has scattered a little bit and still tried to keep close. But all stem from everyone living in the neighborhood together, basically. Or
Yeah.
going to the same school with the kids. And
Yeah.
so the kids held them together, right?
Thinking about my mom's friend group, they were all, her best friends were the parents of my best friends in elementary school.
Yeah.
You guys basically went through that, and the group has held.
Yeah.
And it's just a great part. I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be talking. The jams,
Yeah, it's fun.
it's great.
Yeah. No, there's a little bit of the thing that will always trouble me about is people get in this mode where they just routinely have to do it. Like July 3rd, I got to do my party. At Super Bowl, Don's got to do his party. It used to be like the Lunas did Halloween. Like it was always like everyone had something that they just always do. And I think it's nice to mix it up a little bit.
Agreed.
But it's still fun to come back to the same old oldies but goodies.
Yeah.
I think Christmas is now at the Mathers.
Oh, is it? Oh, man. I feel bad. You set up standards, though, because you have like tents and catering and.
You know what? I'd love to say that I was responsible for any of that, that you were in a band for 9 years with the person who was
Oh, that's
responsible
true.
for that.
Yeah, a little CD going on that one.
Yeah. Oh, no. Everything was mapped out in triplicate.
Yeah. That's good. And you have a great house for that sort of thing. So it's, yeah. And it's not like it's snowing and cold outside. I think you had heaters, but they weren't needed, right?
Yeah. They were there for the very end of the night when people got cold. It was a great night. I've enjoyed every party.
Yeah.
This whole 6 years, growing up in Orange County, and might as well, let's move to San Diego. I was like, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And now it's like, why would I live in Orange County?
Yeah. And so that's one thing I know you're thinking you want to downsize and maybe think about moving out. And there are people who actually are doing that. They're starting to scatter out, and life forces that on a lot of people. But yet, or feel bad about the network that you visit.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not saying we're leaving the area. It's just, we don't use 3/4 of our house.
Yeah.
We don't. And I tell Maya, we have 6 rooms. We never go in. We live in 3 rooms.
Jeez, 9 rooms?
You mean, I'm talking like, we don't go in our living room.
Oh, okay.
Our family room. We don't. We're literally our bedroom, the kitchen. And I don't even go in my studio much anymore because I've moved my entire office over to the master bedroom.
Yeah.
So it's only when people come over to any of the other rooms get dealt with. So there's 6 rooms in total, and only 3 get used.
Yeah. You haven't been to my place in a while, but we have a sort of a general area that used to be just a sitting room, and that's basically our exercise room. We've got like bikes and TVs and power plates and that stuff. And so you just start to repurpose. I remember years ago, I was like so done with our neighborhood. I'm like, oh, I want to move. I'm just so sick of this area. And lately I've been walking a lot more, and as I walk down the street to the house, I'm like, I like my house. I've got everything that we set up. I don't have any interest, even traveling. Like when we go on vacation, I always find the situation where I don't have a cold plunge. A cold plunge at home. What? I go into this trip. Or there's no sauna. I have a sauna at home. It's like an embarrassment of stuff, but I use it all. Yeah. It's not just sitting there dusty.
Yeah, there's no cold plunge in my house unless you want to jump in the pool. There is a sauna.
Yeah, I think Don does that, doesn't he? Jump in his hot tub that's cold.
He does.
Yeah.
You know, I just can't bring myself to do it. I'll keep doing the research, and after what you said today, I'll even take a double look at it.
You should. It's interesting because I literally do them daily.
Yeah.
Okay? And I did one earlier today. And when I don't do them, I totally feel a difference. And I totally feel the inflammation just come down in a hard way. And sometimes when I get in this plunge, I'm like, this is like a magic soup. Because there'll be times where I'm like, oh, shoulder or hurt, knee hurt or something, or I have a headache. I get in like under 5 minutes, I get out, and it's just magically all that disappears.
Yeah.
It's just, dude, you think about when you were playing football, you're like maybe ice bath and like, oh, there's an injury. But we're talking about being hurt, not injured, right? We're just like, and it helps repair that really quickly. It's amazing.
And that's a great way of looking at it because you're right. You ice an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I work out with Mike Walsh, and I can tell the days he's done a cold plunge.
Yeah.
I can. He's always jumping around, and so there may be something to it. I'm willing to look into it.
Okay, so the key, and what I'd say is if you want to start doing it, here's my recommendation. You start with extremes. In a hot shower, literally get it really hot so it's almost scalding, and then crank it to as cold as water will go. And here, and unfortunately in this area, it doesn't go that cold. But then that big change, that's the delta. Then you just like, oh, but finish your showers, make that a note. Finish every shower cold. All right, except the evening. You don't want to do it in the evening if you take it in the evening. But if you like in the morning or something, you take a hot shower, then finish cold. And then you start to build up some tolerance to this. Some people claim, and I think the receptors in your face are like key with this. So some people literally put their face in cold water, like iced water, for extended period of time, like 30 seconds or so. I have a snorkel so you can be there for a minute or two. And that will give you a lot of the effects that you get because your brain says, oh my God, we're cold. It's just your face. But that's a transition. And then you get like a really cheap tub that you blow up tub out of Amazon and have a couple of bags of ice once in a while. And you pop in there and before you know it, you'll be doing what I did. And that's rip out the master bedroom's tub and put a plunge that's 24/7 cold. And you can use it whenever you want. And I find I use them lately. I've been doing them closer to dinner time. And it's like it's like coffee, but won't keep you up.
That's what that was the question I was asking. That doesn't disturb your circadian rhythm?
In fact, if anything, without a plunge, my rhythm gets screwed up. Yeah. So I know that it's like the health nuts are always pushing stuff, but this is legit. You come from an area where people didn't pay for this shit. They would just go outside and freeze their nuts.
Oh, yeah. When I was living there, the coldest I saw was -13. I used to have to pour water on the car because the ice was so thick I couldn't open the door.
Yeah, that's great.
That was a normal thing.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's like I said, I had to pause once in a while. But so you were saying?
So I know we're at the time, but based on what you just told me, here's what I will do. Since we're at the very beginning of the month, I will do that shower thing. And I always take boiling hot showers. So at the end of it, I will crank it to full cold, and I would do it this whole month.
Cool.
And at the last day of the month, you and I will sync up, and I'll let you know if I feel any different.
Absolutely. And so when you do that, by the way, put in your mind, the first time you do it, you have to set a time that you want to, like, count 1, 2, 10, whatever. You put in your mind, I need to do X numbers of seconds or counts. And then when you do that, the next day, you always have to do a little bit more. It's duration at that point.
It's like learning to run.
Yeah, exactly. But don't kill yourself. Don't say, I'm going to do it for a minute afterwards. You know what? Here's the trick I went through. I love brushing my teeth in the shower. And so I would say when I started that, I will always brush my teeth during the cold part. And so I had to finish brushing my teeth before I'd be done with that cold part. And then after a while, I was like, it's the first shock that's the most therapeutic.
Yeah.
And it starts to warm up after that a little bit in your own body. You start generating heat. With showers, it's tough because it's all coming just in one spot. You got to move around a little bit. And so face it, then turn, and face and turn. And always do like an interval train with as you cold adapt. And that's my recommendation. And that's how not only will you make it through it, I think it will be more effective to go to the next level with it.
I will spin like a rotisserie chicken in there.
Go away. You're looking nice and short today. Let's go there, Dobby.
So I'll do it. So that's the challenge. That's what I will take away from this today. I will, for the whole month, starting tomorrow morning, I will do the hot and then the cold, and I'll spin around to make sure I get every angle, and we'll sync up in the end of the month.
Yeah, and you have your own mind of what it's going to be like before, because you just remember what it's like before, and think about what it's going to be after. Don't expect that you're going to lose the kind of weight that you want to lose in that month, and it's only your shower.
Yeah,
but think of it as just a step to the next. I will guarantee you, here's my prediction, that if you truly do what you say you're doing, you will continue to ramp it up. You and Mike will be Buddy in the Barrel together.
We're not that close.
I know.
No, done.
Yeah, I'll even tell Maya. She'll hold me accountable.
Yeah, and she ain't doing it. Actually,
no, she's not doing it.
Yeah, she's not going to do it.
Yeah, no.
Kirsten actually does it once in a while.
Maya's cold at 81.
I know. She's got like negative body fat. So it's you got to keep her warm anyway.
Yeah.
No, but Kirsten's doing it because sciatica now, and she doesn't like to go below her heart.
Yeah,
but she's doing it, and it's a pass for me because she says, "Will you raise the temperature up?" And I have to change the temperature for her. That's fine. But even for me in the cold plunge, I interval train even today. I'll get in. The first shock is hard, and I do it like 51 degrees. Sometimes it gets to 49. It's shock. But then what's critical is you get your head and face underwater right away. Some people wait to the very end. You do that right away, and your body starts generating heat faster, so you warm up faster. And then here's where you can use your voice. Vibrate your vagus nerve, and I hum. I go, hum. Will always warm me up almost immediately. Like carolers, Christmas carolers, they're warm, not just because they're drinking, because they're singing. They're vibrating that vagus nerve, which activates a lot, including your mitochondria, to help generate heat. So
done.
Yeah. You'll hum in the shower. Sing that. You know what? If you don't want to do the brush teeth thing, think of a song, the shortest song, and sing to that. And then then before you know it, you're doing Freebird or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Done. There are no words in Freebird, are there? You do this guitar solo.
No, I'm as free as a bird now.
Yeah. No, seriously, I think that would be cool. And I think it might be the first step for you changing the way you do stuff like this that you would say otherwise. I'm just not into it. I would never do it. But then it's just the incremental change that's the key step.
Hey, 3 months ago, I would never tell you that I would sauna 3 times a week, and now I do.
Yeah. Sauna takes a while, though. How long do you take usually?
20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a commitment, right?
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it's a commitment.
That's the beauty of. Do you have a sauna at home?
I do.
Oh, okay. So that's the next step. I went long on this, but once you finish through the shower, hot shower to cold, the next step is as soon as you're in the sauna, get a cold ass shower afterwards. But you always have to end on cold. Do not go back in the sauna, because if you do go back in the sauna, you've got to do cold again. Always end on cold.
Okay, done.
And yeah, so do it. I don't know. Do you do that anywhere, or do you let yourself naturally cool down?
I usually cool down, and then I'll jump in a warm shower.
Yeah. All right. You basically had that piece of toast, or that little scoop of sugar in your coffee. After you took that sauna, you did such great things, but you go and take a warm shower. No, take a cold ass shower.
Right.
And that itself will be a first step for you, because it'll be easier.
Done.
Yeah. Because your skin will be so warm, you'll be nice, and you'll be able to handle it right away. You won't get as much of a shock initially, but you got to stay in longer when you do that.
Okay.
And if you're in a sauna 20 minutes, you got to be cold ass shower for at least 2 or 3. The therapeutic number is like in the 50s when you cold plunge for at least 3 minutes. That's when the science has shown that's when you're most therapeutic. And so you just work around that. You're not going to get 50-degree water out of our pipes in this area.
No, but I think our pool is actually under 50 at the moment.
Dude, that's okay. There you go. If you wanted the true shock, now it might be too shocking for you. You take your sauna and you go jump in that green ass pool of yours. I'm assuming you're treating it.
We have a pool guy.
Yeah. But no, seriously, that would be a good way to go.
Okay.
But then don't take a hot shower afterwards.
I'm going to start with the shower, the hot and the cold,
Yeah.
and we'll see where we go from there.
But you have a built-in cold plunge right there. You don't have to be buying any shit. You just don't heat your pool.
We don't. No one goes in it.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. All right, man. We're now going to do the next part of our thing, which is we get to go to that fancy restaurant.
Time for dinner.